This is Heart Pocket Podcast number 380 for January 20th, 2026.
Heart Pocket Podcast, seeking to align our hearts with God's heart, making our hearts more like the heart of Jesus.
This is the second half of the story from last week. We will review the story and then continue with the spiritual observations.
Now it came to pass that when Samuel was old, that he made his sons judges over Israel. The name of the firstborn was Joel. The name of the second was Abijah. And they were judges in Beersheba. But they did not walk in the ways of Samuel. No, they turned aside to dishonest gains and they accepted bribes. And they perverted justice. And so all the elders of Israel gathered together and came to Samuel at Ramah. And said to Samuel, "See, you're getting old, and your sons do not walk in your ways. So give us a king to judge us, like all the other nations." But the thing displeased Samuel, when they said, "Give us a king to judge us." So he prayed to the Lord. And the Lord said to Samuel, "Heed the voice of the people and all that they say, for they are not rejecting you, but they are rejecting me, so I should not reign over them. According to the works that the people have done, since the day I brought them out of Egypt, even to this day, that they have forsaken me and they have served other gods. Now heed the voice of the people, but solemnly warn them and show them the behavior of the king who will reign over them." And that's our story from God's word. So, but the thing greatly displeased Samuel when they said, "Give it the king to judge us," and he prayed to the Lord. And the Lord said, "Heed the voice of the people and all that they say, for they are not rejecting you, but they are rejecting me, so that I shall not reign over them." What does it tell us about Samuel that not only did it displease him, but he prayed to the Lord? What do you think? What could Samuel done? What could Samuel have done otherwise when he got this? He got displeased. We talked about that, but he prayed to the Lord, and the Lord answered him in such a way: "Heed the voice of the people and all that they say, for they are not rejecting you; they are rejecting me." What does that tell us about? Really, what does that tell us about God? That He would say, "Heed the voice of the people; do what they say, basically, and everything they say, and all that they say." Heed the voice of the people, for they are not rejecting you, they're rejecting me. What does that tell us about God, that He's giving Samuel this instruction?
It's a good learning opportunity.
What?
God's a good teacher and a good father. I think He's just helping people get to a conclusion by letting them get their own way.
Yeah, I like that.
Well, I think He sees what's in the heart or mind of Samuel, that Samuel feels like he failed, and so God, I think, is trying to, one, reassure him, this isn't really about you. Again, even though these are your sons, it's not about you. It's a fact that they've rejected me as God, that I've placed you as judges. I've also thought about this as we were talking. Is it God's way of sort of getting Samuel's attention? Maybe if you'd talked to me about who to appoint as a judge, we wouldn't be in the situation that we're actually in. So, that you led this down this bad path, let's just let the people have what they want. I've sort of wrestled with that before, in the sense that the reason God just sort of gives in and goes, "Okay, well, give him a king." I mean, we're just not going to follow what I said we were going to do in the first place, even though the shelf tells us that we're going to get a king.
All down through their time since coming out of the Egypt, they have continually gone away from God. And then when they go away from God, they begin seeking him again for some deliverance. And so I'm wondering, is this part of now they doing their own thing? Not just them, but the two sons are doing their own thing. And they're saying, oh, hey, give us some deliverance. And we've even got an idea for you how to give us a deliverance.
Right.
This time they're giving him the idea of how we want you to deliver us.
And we know what's best, right?
Absolutely.
Your question, what we learn about God, I mean, I think it's surprising that God doesn't take this opportunity to correct Samuel. Like, dude, look what you've caused by your choice of your sons and not looking out for them. You have caused the people to rebel against me. But instead, he gives judgment against the people, which is somewhat surprising in this context, right? That it's because, I mean, honestly, for me, I'm just like, Samuel, dude, you got to step up to the plate, man. You're a leader, right? And yet God blames the people.
Yeah, that's kind of going through my mind, the equating of when the people reject Samuel's son, it's like rejecting God. I'm going, but they were not godly. How is that rejecting God?
In the passage right before it, it literally says they repented and 20 years of faithfulness, which I don't know if that was in the intro. But, other shelf.
Shelf's getting a little heavy there.
20 pounds per.
So, I like all
This
this.
is a question though, because that's interesting. They're not godly, so why are you? But it is the question or the request for a king just because of those two, or is the people trying to bypass God? That a king allowed it? I mean, is it in their mind that they think?
But even if the two, it's one of those stories that it's a head scratcher, because they're bypassing the judges, but the judges that are appointed by Samuel aren't good. And you're kind of like, okay, so it sounds like they're rejecting the bad ones and asking for a king because, well, why not ask for more judges, different judges? There's precedents for that. It's just a real paradox when you think about different angles in this one.
One of the things, I think we're at this part where they said, we want a king like all the other nations. And so I wonder how much peer pressure is on them, or they want to be like the rest of the world versus being ruled by King Jesus or King God.
Yeah, their experience with the kings, the other kings, are not that great either. Anyway, go ahead.
But they hadn't got to they don't have a king.
No, I'm talking about the other nations.
Oh, the other nation, but they wanted somebody who was going to lead them out like the other nations had a king. They had a king who rode in front of them in their armies when they went out to battle. We want a king who's going to... That's how I take when it says they want a king like the rest of the...
What does it tell us about the people and their seemingly mistrust for Samuel's leadership and his son's leadership? What do you think? What does it tell us about the people? What do you think they're thinking about their leadership? You think there's a mistrust there?
I don't know if there's a mistrust towards Samuel. Like, I think they wanted him. But I think it's just, like the thing mentioned earlier, you're getting old and your sons suck. But, I mean, there might be a mistrust and judgment on who's next, but I think the people trust Samuel, and he's been there
Well, they come to him
for a bit.
I think it's interesting that they actually come to Samuel, so they understand that he's the one they need to go through in order to. It's almost like they're somewhat asking for God's approval for the plan that they want, like you brought. I'm bringing a new plan because this one ain't, obviously you got two boys that are terrible, and so we got another plan, but we also know we're supposed to get God's permission. So would you take care of that for us, type of deal, so that we get to do what we want to do, because obviously this isn't working.
And for me, listening to the story, your question about the people, if we didn't have that next part about God saying they're rejecting me, not you, I would look at the people and say, man, these are spiritual people. They've made a good call. I mean, that's, if we didn't have that bit of God's response, because looking at these kids being spiritual leaders over the nation, just like, yeah, you need to get rid of these guys.
You're asking about the people. It seems like obviously they see there's a difference between a judge and a king.
Yeah.
There's a difference between those two leaders. And so they're asking, we don't want a judge like you, Samuel, and your terrible sons. We want a king like the rest of the nations.
We want a real leader.
Well, and it's interesting too, the thing about the people, because it would seem that they're spiritual, but I noticed this. They go to Samuel and they say, give us a king. They don't say, pray to the Lord for us that he would raise us up a king. Ask the Lord to raise us up a king. So I don't know if they're really seeking out God's permission. What is their, I guess it brings up the question, and we don't really have an answer, but what is their view of Samuel? What is their view of these judges? Because they tell him, give us a king. They don't say, intercede for us.
Kind of like in Moses, give us water that we can drink.
According to the story goes, continues. According to the works that they have, or the people have done, from the day I brought them out of Egypt, even to this day, that they have forsaken me. They have forsaken me, and they serve other gods. So they're doing the same to you. And then it says, he again says, heed the voice of the people, but solemnly warn them and show them the behavior of the king who will reign over them. It strikes me that it says, repeats it, that God repeats, heed the voice of the people, but warn them. Warn them of what's to come. Warn them of the behavior of the king that's going to reign over them. What does it tell us about God and his relationship to the people? Despite them rejecting me and serving other gods and forsaking me, heed them, listen to them, but warn them.
Seems like he's giving them a chance, that if they heed this warning, they could say, you know what, never mind. Our bad on that. I mean, he is giving them a chance to sort of take back their request, before he grants it. He is letting them know what they're in for, it seems.
Yeah. Giving them an out.
I don't see it so much as an out as I do. He's providing, this is what's happening. This is going to be part of the consequence of what you're asking. Be careful what you ask for. You're going to learn a lesson from this, hopefully, because this is what's coming.
I think there's an aspect of it that he's being a father to them. He's being kind, compassionate, which is God, and this is who he is. And just saying, listen, you have a choice. You're rejecting me. But understand that the consequences of rejection.
Today, in this story, we saw that sometimes we face opposition. There's so many ways we can go with this, but we face opposition, and we might think that we're doing something wrong. That people are rejecting us, and we're thinking it's because it's our fault. It's because of our issue. God says it's them rejecting me and not you. Do you see that?
Yeah.
So how might you see something like that happen today?
Well, I think when we're sharing the gospel with people, a lot of times they'll be upset with us, and yet it's not us they're rejecting. It's the Lord, under conviction or whatever. But
Well, even like biblical, I'm thinking of like same-sex marriage or like abortion or something, like some political issue that there's social ramifications that the Bible says this is not good, and taking a stand for that. At the end of the day, I'm not the one that's getting attacked. Ultimately, it's just God's cosmos and God's nature and who he is and what he set up that's being assaulted.
Has any of you, or do you know of anyone who has faced opposition, where it's just merely a function of them rejecting God and not rejecting the person themselves? Anyone, you know of anyone, or have you ever experienced something like that?
I think I have. I was raised in a Catholic home, but did not, it was just in name, you know? And my parents, when I stopped going to the Catholic Church, they stopped going. They had promised that they would raise their kid in the church, and once I was the last one, that was it. And we had gone every single Sunday. So there was really nothing between Monday and Saturday, right? And so when I became a Christian, they thought I was in a cult. And they told my entire family I was in a cult. And it came back to me from my cousin, who said, "Oh, I heard you're in a cult." I was like, "I go to a Baptist church."
That's cool.
Definitely.
That's cool.
So I'm kind of confused on what you're talking about here. And I realized they really, there was a lot more that went with it that I won't get into here. But yeah, I had to see that it was not my parents rejecting their child. It was my parents rejecting their child's decisions. And I had to reconcile that.
Thanks for sharing.
Yeah, that's tough.
And that's a beautiful illustration of where that's just, people rejecting Christ rather than rejecting God rather than rejecting the people themselves. So what is our takeaway? What can we learn about the story? What can we take away from this?
God's patience. I love how he's playing in the most pure sense, playing the long game, and honoring also Israel in the weirdest way, but he's honoring the people.
For me, I've been in ministry for a couple of years at this point, and talked to a lot of people who had poor leadership in the church, and this story would give me pause to counsel anybody you need to be very careful how you respond to this. But because if God has placed somebody in leadership, you need to be cautious about, there needs to be some, you need to have some biblical reasons for dealing with something, not just a style or a preference or whatever. So that's my takeaway from this for the local church, that you need to be cautious.
I think for me, sometimes my best ideas are not God's ideas. And sometimes some of my best ideas have gotten me into situations that just were not.
Right.
Not good.
Well, I thank you all for sharing and having this discussion with me. If you're interested in the story in the future, it's found in First Samuel 8, verses 1 through 9.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Tune in next week for another episode of Heart Pocket Podcast, and feel free to subscribe on iTunes. For those who wish to have more information about Simply the Story trainings, please feel free to contact the office at info@simplythestory.org or call us at 951-658-1619. You can also visit our website at simplythestory.org. And now you can watch God's story in hundreds of languages just from our simplythestory.org website.
You've been listening to Heart Pocket Podcast, hiding God's Word in our heart pockets, changing the world one heart at a time.
When it sings of glory, I sing the new soul. Will be the old story that I have loved so long.